Hey there, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another amazing fails compilation. If you've got nothing else to do for the next 20 minutes, sit back, grab a cold one, because this one's going to be pretty interesting. Alright folks, for the next 4 minutes we're heading over to the infamous Kodox slope in North Sumatra, Indonesia. This place is no joke. Trucks loaded to the max constantly lose power on the climb, engines stall out, and sometimes they even start rolling backward. Right here, you can already see a Mitsubishi sitting dead on the hill with an engine failure. And that red truck? Yeah, judging by all that smoke, things aren't looking too good for him either. And like I said earlier, they often end up flying downhill completely out of control. Here, you can see the driver somehow managed to avoid the orange truck by swinging the wheel in a zigzag. At this point, all he can do is stay calm and hope to God there's no one behind him. He's hauling crude palm oil, and from what we just saw, that truck was way overloaded, way past anything that should be legal. But, credit where it's due, the driver kept his cool the whole way down. He held that thing under control while blasting downhill and brought it to a stop in the cleanest way possible, without a scratch. This dude's got real nerves of steel. Now all that's left is for another truck to tow him off that steep section of road. And from there, he can continue on his own. But in the next clip, we'll see what happens when the driver doesn't manage to stay in control. Let's watch. Alright, same spot. Almost identical truck, same kind of load, a full tank of crude palm oil. But now, let's see why this hill is as notorious as the locals say it is. Let's watch. At this point, the truck was already starting to choke, and it was only a matter of time before something happened. Okay, we can see there's a leak under the cab, and the passenger already bailed out. Now let's see if the driver can get this thing under control the same way the guy in the previous clip did. Poor guy didn't even manage to stop the truck in the ditch. He just didn't stand a chance, coming down way too fast. Once again, it's pure luck there was no one behind him at that moment. And once again, luckily, no one was behind him at that moment. The incident caused total chaos on the road. The truck completely blocked the way, and crude palm oil splashed all over the place from the tanker. As for the driver, he was found unconscious and taken to the hospital, where he received medical attention. We can see the truck is pretty badly damaged. The rear tires are gone, the drive shaft snapped in half, and both the front and rear axles are literally hanging off. The whole chassis is bent, and fluids are leaking from the engine. Oil, coolant, everything. All in all, it's a total loss. Now it's all up to the rescue team, if we can even call them that, to get this truck off the road. It looks like something caught fire, probably around the engine area, maybe even the batteries. Like the damage wasn't already bad enough. I don't know about you guys, but I'll never get why some folks keep doing stuff that puts them, and everybody around them, in danger. Like, how do you not stop for a second and think, hold up, I should pull over. This truck ain't making this climb, I'm overloaded. Or, man, this thing's way too old for this shit. But nope, they just keep pushing it, even though it could end really bad for someone, including themselves. Some people just never learn. Alright, what do we have here? Okay, this is something that could happen to any of us. As a grader operator myself, I've been in this situation plenty of times, and I learned one big lesson from it. If your front wheel sinks halfway into the mud, don't push forward. Apparently, this guy had other plans. But I don't get it. This is a backhoe. Why didn't he just swing the boom to the rear and push himself out instead of waiting for someone to come pull him out? Drop your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And if you thought this was bad, just wait till you see what's coming next. And yeah, where else would we be if not in Russia? I mean, seriously, how dumb do you have to be not to know how far you can go with your machine? From what I can tell, the guy with the T-130 bulldozer was cutting this embankment where the Chetra is now sitting, and probably misjudged how far he could push the dirt into the water. As a result, you can see for yourself, he ended up so deep that only the cab was sticking out. First, they tried pulling it out with a Chetra bulldozer. Then a Komatsu excavator jumped in to help. When that didn't work, they called in a third machine, a cat excavator. So, let's see if they can get it out of this mess. Well, looks like they made it. Kinda. At least the machine isn't in the water anymore, and that was the most important part. If the guy in the previous clip was, well, I won't say dumb, that sounds harsh, maybe just foolish, then this one is definitely crazy. He somehow managed to drive a tractor with a rotary cutter attachment down that insanely steep slope without flipping it over. And from what I can see, there are already some old tractor tire marks there, which means he's done this before, because no one else would be crazy enough to drive anything on a slope like that, especially not a tractor. Like I mentioned earlier, just when you think things can't get any worse, something like this happens. He fell into the same trap as the truck, but at least he managed to pull the truck out and free it. Something bad must have happened, judging by the way it's parked and fenced off in the middle of the road. Nothing new for a Balaz. You'll see a bunch of them sitting like this, parked and taped off right in the middle of the haul road. And now, my favorite kind of job. Looks like the pit drain got clogged. Let's go fix that thing. We want to do this slowly, not all at once, but in 2 stages. Why? Because if you open it too much and let the water rush out all at once, there's a real chance it could wash out part of the road. The ground can collapse under the force of the water, and it can easily drag the grader with it. That's why we're opening this drain in 2 steps. Now that was nice and smooth. Now this is what I call heavy haulage, the true meaning of work smarter, not harder.
Tecnologia! Tecnologia! Tecnologia!
If the guy in the previous clip was crazy, then this one is a full-on lunatic. I mean, what was he thinking driving over that? I'd say it's some kind of bridge structure. And look how narrow that is, with no guardrails at all. What's even worse, there are wooden beams underneath that could easily snap under the weight of the truck. As a kid, I always liked Optimus Prime way more than Megatron. While I was grading the haul road, my phone suddenly rang. It was my coworker. He goes, "Dude, literally seconds after you passed, a huge boulder fell right behind you." I stopped the grader and turned around to see what he was talking about. And when I saw it, I was shocked. A massive boulder had broken off the bench and landed exactly where I'd just driven by, maybe 10 seconds after I passed. It honestly made my blood run cold. But alright, let's go back and take a look at how big this thing really is. From the cab, it doesn't look that big. We can see where it broke off from, but before going down to check its actual size, we need to move it off the road. Now that we've moved it off the driveway, let's head down and see just how big that thing really is. And here it is. Only after getting out of the cab, you can see how massive this boulder really is. I mean, I can't even imagine what would have happened if it had hit the grader. The material is still sliding, which is a clear sign it's time to get out of here. But a valuable lesson was learned. Never stop or hang around near an unstable bench. Another boulder fell right in the middle of the road and blocked the way. Nah, just kidding with you. This guy decided to take matters into his own hands and move the concrete barrier himself. All because the lady from Google Maps told him to. Another genius who decided to listen to the lady from Google Maps. Rule number 1. Never drive fast with an unsecured heavy load. That guy in the black sedan was lucky. If he had stopped just 4 meters farther back, it could have been fatal. Here's what happens when you forget to set the parking brake. Luckily, the guy in the forklift was alert enough to notice what was going on, and he saved the day. Another Balaz parked right in the middle of the road, and this one looks like it's leaning to the right. Probably something going on with the suspension. The incredible power of hydraulics. Looks like this guy jammed a button on the remote control, and the hydraulic boom just started punching through the wooden trailer floor and wouldn't stop, like a hot knife through butter. A desperate situation forced this driver to unload his cargo before it flipped the truck over. Poor guy had to choose between risking it all by driving on and possibly rolling over with the load, or playing it safe and saving the truck. Here we can see just how serious the situation really is. All the hard work these guys put into loading the cargo went straight down the road, and he probably lost his paycheck for the day. But on the bright side, at least he saved the truck. And the oranges, well, some will end up back in the crates again, and the rest will probably be taken by the locals. And that's exactly what happened in this footage. The poor guy didn't even have time to release the load, and as a result, the truck flipped over. Here's what happens when a guy drives a forklift onto a trailer and floors it. He hit the ramp too hard. The forklift started bouncing, and the left rear wheel slipped right off the trailer. Luckily, another forklift came over, and with the help of some chains, they lifted it back onto the trailer. But yeah, that was one uncomfortable experience for the driver, that's for sure. This guy's got real human superpowers. He managed to lower a 170-pound oxygen tank with just one touch. While I was working with the dozer, I noticed some kind of gas coming out of the ground. I got out of the cab to check if it was anything toxic, and it turned out it wasn't. But when I put my hand over the spot, the ground was really warm and wet. If any of you know what that could be, let me know down below. By the way, we're currently right on the edge of the old pit, and in a moment, you're going to see a beautiful view. And this is that beautiful view overlooking the smelter and the rest of the city. What used to be the biggest copper and gold mine in Europe is now being backfilled with overburden from the new mine. The overburden comes from the new pit, travels across the conveyor, and then goes straight here, into the old one. But yeah, this view is something else. You really have to see it in person to appreciate it. Alright, what do we have here? A fully loaded truck stopped in the middle of a steep incline, secured from the back with material. We can see a fuel truck and a service truck, which leads me to only one conclusion. This Balaz ran out of fuel right in the middle of the driveway and blocked the road. Oh yeah, almost forgot to mention. Another Balaz parked right in the middle of the road. This is going to be interesting. I've always been a big fan of old Soviet and Russian construction equipment. What we've got here is the Chetra T11, a premium Russian brand known as one of the biggest construction equipment manufacturers in the country, kind of like what Caterpillar is in the US. Right now, it looks like this beast is trying to cross what seems to be a frozen creek or something. Anyway, since we're already talking about Chetra, let's go over some of the key specs of this machine. This workhorse is powered by either a Yams 236ND2 or a Cummins QSB 6.7 diesel engine, producing around 185 horsepower. That's plenty of muscle for a mid-sized dozer like this. Depending on the configuration, it weighs between 46,000 and 52,000 pounds, giving it the stability needed for rough terrain, muddy conditions, or frozen ground like this one. The fuel tank holds about 75 gallons, which is more than enough for a full day of hard pushing. In terms of size, the T11 measures about 15 feet long, 8 feet wide, and just over 11 feet tall, putting it right in the same class as the Caterpillar D6. Built for roadwork, reclamation, and general construction, the Chetra T11 is a true workhorse, tough, reliable, and designed to take on just about anything Russia can throw at it. And it looks like he's going to make it, from what I can see. After all, these machines are built for exactly this kind of harsh winter condition in Russia. This can be very dangerous. Vibrations from a hydraulic breaker can undermine the ground beneath the machine and cause it to collapse. This is why you should never stand next to or underneath a heavy load while it's being lifted. Industrial fails can be extremely dangerous. Once again, never stand underneath or next to a heavy load while it's being lifted. The notorious Motang Pass in Lesotho, a steep, narrow road sitting nearly 10,000 feet above sea level, is a dangerous challenge for most truck drivers, and it's one that often ends in tragedy.